Hey everyone, this is Kelly and I am back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I am using a die, a starfish die from the Zen Ocean stamp and die set. I'm going to show you this stamp set and it's for that little starfish there. And it comes in this large die set. And I use that to cut out lots and lots of stars from some Nina Desert Storm cardstock. For the background or the underneath part of this card, I'm going to smooth on some Distress Oxide inks in Broken China and Spiced Marmalade. And I'm not being too careful about a pattern or getting the blending just right because I am going to sprinkle on some water to get that nice oxide reaction with the water and the ink. So I'm looking at that to make sure I like the way those colors are set up, and then I'm just going to squirt a little bit of water on there, dab it up with a paper towel, and then I'm going to put those stars back on top to make sure that I have the spots exactly where I wanted them. And I wanted to add just a little more water, dab that up again with a paper towel. And then I'm going to add lots and lots of little slivers of foam tape to the back of that Star Desert Storm cardstock. I'm going to make sure that those little pieces are all in the nooks and crannies so they don't get bent and squished when it goes through the mail or it's put into a package. After I did that, I am using my really fine-tipped, fine-point tweezers to pull off all the backings. I find that that is easier, especially when you have those little teeny tiny pieces of foam tape, either on projects like this or for shaker cards. So I like to use my tweezers. I'm getting right over the top of that card panel to make sure I get it lined up perfectly and add that star background there right to the top of that Distress Oxide paper. Now I'm going to work on the sentiment part, and this sentiment says "You are a star," and this is from the Mermaid song stamp set that has all those beautiful underwater ocean themed greetings. I'm going to stamp this onto some vellum because I don't want to cover up those pretty stars and that colored background that I just worked on. So I'm going to use some VersaMark ink and ink that up and then stamp that down. I did use my anti-static powder tool to try to keep my white embossing powder from getting stray little pieces. I do get a couple of stray little pieces, but they're really easy to get off or knock off with a paintbrush, and I'm doing that as you can see there. Then I'm going to make sure that my heat tool is really nice and hot, and it's really super easy to make sure your embossing powder is nice and smooth, and you don't warp your paper if you make sure your tool is nice and hot first. I'm liking the way that that looks on top of that card panel, and I'm just going to use my Tonic trimmer just to trim that out over the top of that. And I had already trimmed down the width of that vellum to what I wanted. The whole card will be A2 card size, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to add some Nuvo liquid adhesive just behind those embossed words. I'm going to make sure that that is nice and straight, and again my head's going to get in the way. I'm going to get right on top of that and make sure that that greeting is nice and straight, and then I'm going to lay an acrylic block on top and let that sit for just a few minutes. I'm going to add a real starfish, and I kind of designed the card and the colors to go with these starfish that I found at my local craft store, so that's why I went with that Spiced Marmalade, which is that orangey coral color, the same as the starfish as you see there. I'm adding some natural jute twine, and I love this because you see all the texture and the little fibers in that twine. I use my tweezers as an extra finger to hold down my little bow there as I tie it, and I'm just going to trim off the ends, and I'm kind of going to do like a crisscross with the edges of the twine that I have wrapped around that front of the card there. Make sure that is nice and tight. A little snip to the ends, and then I'm going to use a little bit of the same liquid adhesive to add on my little starfish. Now I had trouble getting my liquid adhesive to come out of my little top, so I actually improvised and used my little tweezers there to dip down in there and just took some adhesive and added that right on top there. I'm going to let that starfish set and dry for a good long time to make sure that it's nice and dry before I start wiggling it around and putting it on to a Nina Desert Storm card base. Now this is cut A2 size, so folded down it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's the same size as that card front. I'm just going to add some ATG adhesive and stick that down nicely, and then this card is all done. So easy peasy with those dies. You could use any shape die for this, and I had so much fun creating that background. All of these supplies are from Honeybee Stamps. They're listed in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Talk to you guys next time. Bye bye.